Before we get into the video, I wanted to show that most people who view this channel haven't subscribed. So please consider subscribing as it will help improve the channel and increase its growth. Other than that, let's get on to the video. What's up guys, Shahaz here and welcome to another review. Today we're doing it on Batman Arkham Origins. So I recently completed the game and I wanted to make the review. So the idea of the review will be that it's not going to be based off how the game is like from its current play. That I will review that. But I'm also going to review how it feels from like as compared to current gen games. How it feels from games that are now coming out or from other Arkham games. I will play the other Arkham games, but I'm also going to compare it to them as I've played them before. So also the order is going to be mixed up, so let's get into it. So traversal is one of the main things in every Arkham game. It's how you like make sure that player keeps fun in the game. If you like make traversal slow or boring in any game, not only a Batman game, it will lose player interest. It will bore players from just going from place to place. Arkham Asylum, Origin, Asylum City, and Night had this idea of like improving the traversal. Asylum had a smaller area, so using the grappling hook wasn't as annoying, wasn't tedious. In City, you would get a better grappling hook, which would like help you traverse faster. And in Night, you would get the Batmobile along with all the upgrades you had received from City. Origins falls short on that way because the traversal in this game is terrible. Like every time you're like gliding through the city, especially considering how big this game is, it's the same size as I think Arkham Knight, but due to there being no Batmobile or like any type of faster traversal system, traveling in this game gets tedious. It gets boring, as you can see, and half the time there aren't many points where you can grapple, making you run along or like glide in the air for long. And gliding is super slow in this game for some reason. Like when you're gliding, it feels so tedious and slow that it doesn't even like feel fun. I think the problem with this was that the map was so big that WB Montreal, by the way, WB Montreal was like a different company that made this. This one is made by Rocksteady, who made the original Arkham series. They didn't take into the account about how big the city is that they should like improve or make faster traversal. They did add stuff like checkpoints or like fast travels, but the thing is, in a Batman game or especially in a superhero game, traversal shouldn't feel boring or tedious. It should feel fun. It should make you feel like, hey, I'm playing as a superhero. But in Arkham Origins, it felt tedious, like finding a grappling point, finding a point where you can like jump off of or glide. Gliding was super slow, and I really think that it felt short. Other than that, it felt normal when like if you are going through a smaller area. I think the only complaint with the traversal in this game is the fact that they couldn't make the gliding faster, and that there weren't as many gliding points as there should have been, like more like grapple points, not gliding points, grapple points, as it would have helped players travel around areas faster and not like use the fast travel system as a way to get rid of any tedious. Just like every other Arkham game, this game also included basic parkour stuff like climbing, ledge walking, and stuff like that, rope climbing and other stuff. But in all honesty, it didn't feel as important or as like used in the game. You didn't feel like you had to use it or like it was important. Ledge climbing always felt like half the parkour in this game felt like it was forced, that it never had any importance. Also, stuff like traps and stuff. Basically, the game has a good parkour system. It's just not used as much as the devs think. Even in Arkham City's Asylum and Night, the parkour system isn't as much used as devs think. So I kind of wish that they would have like some sequences where half your bad claw stuff is taken away and you have to like use your basic parkour skills, because they have those skills but they don't like utilize them. They don't make you like say, hey, let's just use Batman without his like give a level where Batman's utility isn't used, just so that players can have a little like use their brains and not just focus on like, okay, hey, let's just grapple this, grapple that. Stuff like parkour and like basic climbing should be fun, and it is fun in Batman Arkham games. It's not like slow and boring like other Splinter Cells or any other games that use parkour. But I kind of wish that they had a better way of utilizing it and making traversal of parkour like more fun to use instead of just it being forced. Other than that, it is fine. The parkour isn't also bad. The parkour, it's just fine. There are some button prompts that piss you off and like basically force your character to jump off. But other than that, the game has like good parkour. It's just that it isn't used or utilized as much as people would think, and that's about it. That's what I think. There's a problem with the parkour. I think they should have like made parkour and like gliding a bit better. It felt like they just copy pasted it from Arkham Asylum or like City, and then they never tried to improve on it. Although I have to like in this game's defense, this was supposed to come out as a filler level for Night, because as Rocksteady was still developing Night, they needed to make an extra year, so they had to have like a mid game come out in between for like fans to not like get bored of the Arkham series. So Arkham Origins wasn't like originally planned to be a full game. It was actually a filler game that was given to a new dev team. And even though like WBB Montreal copied most of the effects and stuff, I still think that it was a great game. They had like good parkour stuff. So let's just move on to the combat. The combat wasn't any different from the original Arkham games. The combat felt similar. Left click to attack, right click to counter, and then there's different moves and like combos you can do. But in all that similarity, it still felt like a downgrade from the original Arkham games. Mostly due to the fact that the game had like a terrible optimization or an input system. Sometimes I would like press counter, like you can see, and the game wouldn't like register it, and it would like make you force like spam your counter just to make sure that you can like your counter is working. So that was a bit annoying. Other than that, the combat felt the same, fast paced. One thing that was annoying about the combo meter in this game was that as faster as you got hits, like the more you built up your combo to the red point, the game would give this weird motion blur FOV to you, which would like really mess up your frames if you were recording it. And it like literally ruined the gameplay for some people. So some people, including me, it basically discouraged me from getting high combos during my recording sessions, which was a bit annoying. And input lag in this game was terrible. Like you would try to counter and the game wouldn't register your counters, which would lead you to getting hit, especially for those who are trying to like do some challenge runs or are playing it on like the harder difficulties. I kind of wish that the WB Montreal did some improvements on the combat, because it didn't feel anything special. They did add some like different combos and like different like move sets. Like now your batarangs can damage people. Your shock gloves are now a new weapon that help in like combat. But it still felt like a downgrade to the original games. Most of the time, in order to build a combo and just to get like one guy away, you would like do a special stun combo where you would stun someone and then go to town on them. It was a way just to like get some hits in, or like knock a guy out or build up your combo easily. But it was annoying because it would basically discourage players from like fighting normally. Like the counter in this game was super broken. It wasn't working well. So stuff like the shock gloves and other weapons were like useful in terms of like stop ruining the experience for players. But the thing is, the shock gloves comes like halfway after half playing half the game. So you will have problems with like input lag, the game not listening to your counters. It's not like basic stuff that annoys you. I kind of wish that they would make some of this better, but they didn't. WB Montreal basically copied the basic formula but made it shittier somehow. It's not fun. It feels repetitive, and like not the combat feels repetitive, but it feels that the fact that the counters don't work feels tedious, and that I think to balance that out they had to add like stuff like shock gloves and other abilities like shock gloves, batarangs that actually damaged enemies, smokes and other stuff. and like the stun move, like the way that your counters, your combo meters builds up really quickly is also a way maybe for the game devs to like ignore the counter flaws in the game. Kind of wish that they would fix that, but well, it's all a games came out like a lot of years ago. I don't think they're planning on patching it. But yeah, the combat wasn't as well made as other games were. Even the like combo targeting was off. It would like you would go off on like five guys moving from guy to guy to guy, but all of a sudden the game Batman would just kick in the air and all that combo would just disappear, which was super annoying and like ruined like anyone who was trying to go for a high score or like having fun. Like it would just ruin the experience. I wish WB Montreal actually like worked on the targeting system, because the lock on in this game was terrible. If the guy was not in the camera angle of your character, there was a high chance that Batman would just punch air and like ruin every combo you had. And even if the combat was working perfectly, like there was no problems, there were some still areas that I feel like needed polish, but WB Montreal ignored it, like the mirror room fight in Mad Hatter level. It's basically so bugged that if you try to like combo or counter any of the enemies that are attacking from the mirror side, they will actually hit you. But if you counter them properly, the game would bug out and just so that you're just punching the wall. Like as you can see, Batman would just bug the hell out if like he would counter any of these enemies. It felt like there wasn't polish or like this wasn't tested as well as WB Montreal could have done. Like I said, the combat, they had some good ups and downs. The shock gloves were a great improvement, but I kind of felt and like forcing you to like use your gadgets, like not just saying okay just press left click and just right click is gonna make you fun, like do different stuff. I think that was an improvement because it like made you character players like try different stuff, not just stick with the combo spam. But I still feel like the input lag, the buggy levels, the fact that they wasn't polished or tested made me feel annoyed that they didn't try it. Especially when you go for some of the boss fights that are like super tough, especially considering that Bane boss fight. Because in Bane's boss fight, the hitbox is incredibly broken, especially for one of his slams. You can like get hit by his slams even if you like were like 10 feet away. The slam would still hit you. Like the hit scan on that attack was broken. But other than that, I think the combat felt a little bit less. Wish that WB would like improve on it in like Gotham Knights, but it looks like they're going for the Marvel's Avengers account, and I feel like that's gonna make the game feel tedious, like a cheap cash grab that Marvel's Avengers did. So yeah, that's one of my longer rants, because I really hate the fact that they changed the combat to a tedious punch, get better gear, pay to win crap, because that just ruins the game for anyone who wants to play. One of the features in this game that got added later on to Arkham Knight was the detective system, and I will have to agree that the detective system in this game was great. They actually like changed the system from what it was before to a like a prediction system or like a scan system that would like play out the crime that happened in real time, and then you would actually have to like look at clues and evidence on what happened and like where did things happen before. It was a great improvement. I enjoyed it thoroughly. It felt like you are actually a detective, and the game utilizes this a lot. It even uses it in the side modes and stuff like that. Speaking of which, the side bosses in this game were well done. Unlike Arkham City, where the side boss fights were jokes and like literally just saying, "Oh, we're gonna be in Origins or like a night." The side boss fights in this game were fun. They would actually be related to the story. Deadshot, Lady Shiva, Bane, Killer Croc, Mad Hatter. Each of these characters weren't just introduced randomly or like after a certain point. They would actually be related to the story. Deadshot was related to the bounty hunters. Shiva was there because she wanted to see why like her master respected Batman. Mad Hatter actually like waited for Batman after he got out of the station. None of these characters were like, oh hey, I hacked Batman's cell phone or like radio. Now I'm gonna contact him. They each of them actually like came in from the story. In, talking about the story was also well done. Although I can't show any clips because I like this is like after the game. This is like after post ending gameplay. The story was well done. The bosses, the story, and how each like puzzle player added to the game was great. Joker, Bane, Deathstroke, Penguin. Each I feel like Penguin was the used least, but I still enjoyed the game thoroughly because it had a great story. It had the origins of how each of these characters met, how Bane actually went full psycho because of his venom, and stuff like that. It made the gameplay more fun and not tedious at all, unlike other Batman's Arkham games where they were just jokes of their former selves. Like Deadshot here is a good example. Deadshot in Arkham City had to be one of the worst side bosses you would have to actually fight. He would, you would like go for like 3, 4 victims. You would see his pattern, and then his fight would just be you hiding around a corner waiting for him to turn, and then you could like stealth take down him. In Origins, it's different. He's an actual boss. He actually like is a tough boss, which would like take some strategy on how to take him down. You would actually have to move around, look at where he's not looking. His laser sight would scare the hell out of you. And the stealth in this game was actually better. I think stealth is one of the few things in this game that I actually think was an improvement as compared to the other games. The gadgets you use are more like better, like helpful. The Batclaw especially, you could use different stuff. You could take down enemies in different ways, different forms without worry. As compared to like the Two-Face boss fight or any other of the boss fights. Arkham City had great main boss fights, but I feel like Origins had both side and main bosses well done, and it felt so much enjoying like finding new ways to tackle enemies, looking for new like this game opened up a new like level of ways to take down your enemies, and it felt so much enjoyable as compared to City's side bosses, which felt like they were forced, they had no fun, they felt like repetitive filler missions, as compared to like Origins, where each of these bosses have actual story. Deadshot's hunting you for the money. Shiva was hunting you for learning about why you are respected by her masters. Different enemies, different stuff. Also, the game would get progressively harder with like these stealth missions. Like there would be mine enemies. The gargoyle stands that you use to like grapple around would actually be trapped with detonators. The bosses like that stroke here can't be one-shotted or like stealth takedown, and like unlike Arkham Knight, where you can like one-shot Two-Face if you hide long enough. But in like the game like this, you have to like play it smart. How you wanna fight these bosses? How you wanna like progress? How you wanna like see where each goon is? How the game basically got tougher as it continued on, and it didn't feel like, oh man, okay, this is the same room with the different enemies, or like same room with one different guy. The enemies would get different. You would come back to these rooms with better gadgets, better weapons, but the goons would also be tougher. Also, the like I said, the Batclaw that you get after Deathstroke was one of the best things you could get because it is really fun, especially in the stealth sections. You could do multiple takedowns with it, including like using it to like throw enemies against the wall. Like I said, the game actually felt fun in the stealth department because I feel like there was an actual like improvement on it. The WB Montreal actually like looked at it and said, hey, let's improve it. There are some bugs in the stealth mechanic. It's not full clean, it's not perfect. There are bugs in it. Sometimes you will like hide behind an enemy and like press the stealth attack, but it won't work, and that would annoy you because that would like alert everyone else, so you had to like improvise. But other than that, a lot of the mechanics in this game felt fun. They didn't feel forced. You could do different stuff, do different ways of taking down enemies. You could use the enemy's own gadgets against them. The troopers that throw down mines at you, you can actually detonate the mines when they're near them. Like I said, I feel like WB Montreal actually got creative in the sense when they were using the stealth mechanics, when they were trying to improve it, because a lot of the mechanics in this game felt better when you were doing stealth. When you were going against hand-to-hand combat fights, it wasn't as fun, but when you were doing stealth stuff, it was incredibly fun and enjoyable. But other than that, I feel like the game was well done in the stealth department. It had some bugs and it had some good points, but I enjoyed it thoroughly. Now let's go get on to the final review. As Batman Arkham Origins was WB Montreal's first attempt at a superhero game, especially a Batman superhero game, and it was supposed to like feel as a filler for the Arkham Knight game. I think the game deserves a 7 out of 10. It had some flaws, but it also had some improvements. Unfortunately, the flaws would outweigh the improvements, which would ruin the game completely. But I feel like if WB Montreal had kept up with the game, had improved upon it instead of like abandoning it for a looter shooter or like a loot based game like Gotham Knights, game would have been fun. But unfortunately, they had to they abandoned the game. They felt like it didn't need any improvements. It didn't need a sequel, or they shouldn't attempt another one at it, which kind of ruined the game for it. But I still think that Arkham Origins is not a bad game, but it is one of the lowest versions of like the Arkham series. I think they could have made it better if they like made more games on the Arkham series or like tried to improve on it instead of abandoning it after Arkham Knight. They could have like done different stuff, added different DLCs, but after the it's called Mr. Freeze DLC, the game stopped. They stopped developing anything related to the Arkham series, which is annoying. But other than that, Arkham Origins is a great game. If you want to play it, I highly suggest you go and play it. It's a fun game. You can play it on like Steam. There's probably on sale right now, or like any other time you can just get it for sale, or find a cracked version. I'm pretty sure YouTube has one of those. But I highly suggest for those who want to play a Batman game, this is fun. It's enjoyable, and it's just not as good as the other Arkham games, but it is fun. But that's all it's gonna be. Alright guys, I'm gonna be ending the video here. If you guys enjoyed it, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next video. Goodbye.